Hello and welcome to a look at Hard and Heavy for the Commodore 64, a game that was released by Reline. When it comes to plots and platformers, it's usually a mixed bag. Either it's a question of rescuing a peachy princess who's always in another castle, or the plot is obscure or irrelevant. This particular game's plotline falls in the first category. I was about to say, I'd say the second category. Numbering can be challenging from time to time. Apparently, Swiss and Japanese manufacturers of quartz watches have convinced everyone in the world that that is the best thing ever designed, so people are buying between 10 and 30 of those watches each. And of course, those watches are running on a specific type of lithium battery, which expires after about a year. So it is easy to imagine that the world's supply of lithium is getting rapidly depleted, and they are desperately looking for another source. One such source is found on Mars, and scientists are very quick to develop two remote-controlled, especially spiffy, super-duper robot things to go and mine out the caverns of Mars to get more lithium. In all their cleverness, the scientists didn't take into consideration that the two robots, which by the way are named Heavy and Metal, they could decide that mining lithium was not something they would want to do, and they would rather go and explore the caverns of Mars and have some fun with that. And that is where you, as the player or players, come in. You have the option to play this game either by yourself or alongside a friend, and there's multiple different options in doing such. You can alternate turns, or you can have team games where, depending on various different criteria, your player will get control of whatever robot it may be at certain times, either after a death or after a certain amount of time. And while the options, if you're playing by yourself, are completely irrelevant, it is nice that those are available, because of course, I mean, encouraging multiple people to play a game together is always a good idea. Let's cover the interface, and then the technical stuff afterwards, and then we can talk more about the game in general. The top left is the name of the robot you are in charge of, and if you play this game by yourself, you will always be in charge of Heavy. To the right of that you have the score, which is what you have built up by playing the game. To the right of that again, you have a bonus which is based on the lithium crystals, those star-shaped things that have some sort of animation attached to them. And once you gain 100 of those, that's the usual stuff with extra points, extra lives, all that good stuff. Further to the right you have a timer, which of course is the time limit that you have to beat a level within, and if you run out of time, you lose a life. The bottom of the screen you have the shoot, which is your shot power, because you start with shots in this particular title. This of course is not something you would do in the other games that are incredibly similar to this, or this game being very similar to, I should rather say. And you can get upgrades for the shot power. It can be ranked up to rank 3, and that will determine of course how many shots are required to defeat various different enemies. So right on that you have a shield indicator, which is a limited resource that you can, by hitting the spacebar, access the bottom menu, and then you can switch between the shield and the option to the right, which I will get further, get back to in a moment even. It's called. The shield gives you limited invulnerability, and the middle display is actually the timer of your invulnerability. If you lose a life, you will have a certain amount of time of invulnerability, and if you use a shield, you will also have a certain amount of invulnerability time, and that is what that is an indicator of, which I think is a very nice thing to have. So right after that, you have a bomb thing, and that is a smart bomb that you can activate again by pressing space and then navigate to the smart bomb thing, and then press space again to activate the thing, which is the smart bomb in that case, of course. Another limited resource that you can find more of by playing through the different levels. To the right of that, the top side says how many lives you have, and you can imagine what that indicates. That should be fairly obvious. And of course, the stage underneath is which stage you are currently on. Hopefully that should also be fairly self-explanatory. Graphics-wise, I think this game, because of its setting, works fairly well. Certain components of the graphics are incredibly detailed, and certain other components are somewhat rough, but by and large, I do wish that the game had a bit more color use than it does. The secret levels you can enter from time to time will have extra use of color, which is very welcome, but yeah, I mean, I don't think the graphics in any way, shape or form is exceptional, but I do not find it to be bad either. The sound effects are fairly generic for a game of this type. They portray what they need to portray, and you can easily recognize what different sound effects are supposed to be portraying. So in that regard, I think they are adequate for what they need to be. The quality is okay, nothing particularly special. The music I find quite enjoyable, it's quite funky, and depending on personal taste, of course, it may be more or less enjoyable, but by and large, I think that while not standing out as being necessarily tunes that will reach legendary status, they are not bad in any way, shape or form. The controls are what you expect them to be. Up will cause you to jump, and left will cause you to run left. Right will cause you to run right, and the fire button is used to shoot stuff. So that's basically part of the course. The controls are fairly accurate, very responsive, and they do what you want them to do, and that's always a good thing, I suppose. This game has the official, unofficial subtitle of Great Giana Sisters 2, which I find to be somewhat accurate, but also somewhat inaccurate. To me, it feels like someone attempted to take the general basic elements of Great Giana Sisters, which of course is a Mario clone, despite the fact that it was ruled not to be one, and Turrican, which may sound a bit obscure, but you start with the ability to shoot, and there's an awful lot to shoot at. So it becomes a partial platformer, partial shooter, which is what Turrican is, but it still retains the foundational elements of what the Great Giana Sisters was. Personally, I'm a bit of a purist. I don't like when people take the classics and start messing with them, because they're classics for a reason. But to claim that this game in any way, shape or form is a poor game would be unjust. So I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you find this combination potentially interesting. Thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.